Chris's company, or we're part of Chris's
It
company.
says
so.
Jody's doing the welcoming. I asked the question.
See, now look, this is coming up on every one of the Zoom meetings now.
Yes, we have to confirm it because we can't continue unless they know they're being recorded. I get it.
I had that on one this morning. Okay, you're recording. I'm gonna admit people as they come in, and then
Is David still there?
David and Ruth.
Great.
Ruth, yeah, that's my cousin. I should just say,
Admitting.
hi, Ruth. Okay, hi, David.
You can say that in just a minute. And there's Linda.
Hi, guys.
Hang on, they're connecting to audio.
Okay, totally fine. Welcome.
Ding, connecting. There we go.
Sorry.
Can you hear us?
Hi, David, can you hear us?
They're still connecting.
They're still
Okay,
connecting.
okay.
Ruth, can you hear us?
Hi, we're joining together.
It's not flashing on the top of the microphone, is it?
Okay.
Can you see us both?
Oh, I can hear you somewhat, David.
Oh, we need to turn up the volume on the on my speaker.
Why
On
is this out?
oh, that's gonna.
Push over in the corner.
I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead, do it. Computer.
Voila.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Sweet. Ruth, can you hear us now?
Yep.
All right.
Sweet. Okay.
All right. Welcome.
We've had a couple tech issues, so it's okay.
It is.
It is. It's just like, okay.
And it doesn't matter how many times you do something, you get a few tech issues.
Oh, yeah. I just saw something recently and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, they dropped, the speaker couldn't be heard. And it's like, it's like, wait, okay, fine. So.
It'll happen.
Okay.
It'll happen.
Hey,
Hey,
Stace.
Stacy.
And the answer to that question, Stace, is yes. She sent me an email.
Good.
So I will send you the confirmation later, but yes. So we will give it a few more minutes.
Give it a second or two, but I'd say we roll when we roll.
There we go. See, and Chris has already given me caffeine, iced caffeine. It works really well. So
We're good to go.
there we go.
All right. So everybody doing well today?
So far, so good.
That's a positive. Hi, Linda.
Hi, how are
How
you?
are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
It's working.
Yay.
See, and behind the camera is Chris. He's helping us today. So without him, thanks, Chris, for joining us.
He's making our life easier.
Yes.
It's making our life easier.
And
so-
I should say Coach Chris, because he's one of the leadership coaches too.
Yep.
So,
are you going to just go ahead and start now that you're introducing Chris?
why don't we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I am Jody Fayman, certified financial coach. And this is Chris, who is dear friend. She's also my coach, which we would not be sitting here without her. And she is also one of the founding members with her husband of Leadership Harbor. So, Chris.
Hi.
We have to remember, we're talking too.
Hi. So we're going to kind of do this in a very casual conversational mode. And we thought that when you're ready for questions, if you've got questions as we're going along, go ahead and jump in, unmute yourself and let us know that you've got a question so that we can be ready for that. I'm just going to start out with a couple questions for Jody because I think you guys should all get to know her better. I realize that a lot of you might know her already, but let's go ahead and do that anyway. So, Jody.
Okay, pause. Welcome, Tanya, and hi, Jim. How are you? Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Hi. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Jim. Okay. So here's my first question for you, Jody.
Yes.
My first question is, why a financial coach?
For me, it's very important because of my background, because of the circumstances I've been in, which I've been a widow for a number of years. having your finances in order takes a huge amount of stress out of your world. Finances for male and female are very stressful or can be very stressful. And there's 78% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck. Okay, huge amount of stress there, especially if you're in the widow, or even if you're not, just married couples and whatnot. They don't need that much more stress because marriage can be stressful. So, if I can help them, let's take that one less stress item out of their world. That would be huge.
That's pretty good why. That's a pretty good why. And this webinar, this is your first big plunge into, I mean, you've done budgets and you've done all of the things that you've done, that you've needed to do. You know what you're doing. I'm not saying that, but this is like the first webinar that Jody's doing. So why this particular one? I mean, you chose budgeting as your first webinar. Why budgeting?
Well, first of all, Chris pushed me off the cliff. There is a blog on that coming. The thing is, as I was telling Chris earlier, that there are so many people that need this. I presume that people just budgeting's 101. Well, we were talking earlier, and back in the dinosaur days, when Ruth and I were going to school together, which we did go to school together, the only way you had budgeting was if you took bookkeeping, which was not something required. Fast forward now, they're not teaching that in the school. That being said, though, that Nebraska passed a law in 2021, joining 25 other states requiring financial teaching in the schools, high school. And it's like, I haven't seen it, but this is a basic 101. If you can't do this, I have a paycheck. What do I do with this paycheck?
Yeah.
What do you mean I have no money? I still have checks in my checkbook. Which, Chris, you have a story on that one.
Question asked to me once. My daughter said, she wanted something at the store. This was Kylie. I'm just going to call her out on it. And she was at the store with me, and she wanted something. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember her saying, "But mommy, I want this." And I said, "But honey, I don't have the money for that right now." And she said, "But you've got all those checks." Yeah, it did not compute. Did not compute at all. So yeah. So, all right, well, cool. And I'll tell you another story, and this is just going to go prove to your point that budgeting, it isn't a 101 thing that needs to be learned by everybody. It is not being taught. Literally was working with a CPA firm the other day, and I was working with their audit team. And I always mention some of the things that are coming up. And so I mentioned, hey, we're doing a webinar. If you know somebody that's looking for some budgeting information, have them jump on. And literally all four of them looked at me and went, "Yeah, budgets, that's just not something that I do."
We're talking CPAs here, so they're not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not really applying the possibilities. And I think budgeting is all about possibilities. So, all right, what are a couple of the things that you think are most challenging about budgeting for people?
I think budgets scare people for the fact that they really don't want to know what their finances look like, because budgeting is a 101. Okay, it's basically how much you've got coming in, and that's pretty simple unless you've got, like one of my daughters, 4 to 5 different streams of income. Well, and it works. And then expenses. Well, expenses become more complicated because of the fact that you've got the subdivisions. Then you, like I was talking to my daughter the other day. Okay, we were talking about her food budget, and I asked her, okay, does your eating out come out of that food budget? But for her, that came out of her fund. So then, you've got these 4, and your basic needs are, you're giving, you're saving. Then you've got your 4 walls, your food, your utilities, which there's how many subdivisions of that, your shelter. Do you live at home? Are you renting? Do you have a mortgage? And your transportation, which, if you've taken it in for oil change lately, and they've come up with, okay, this is wrong with your vehicle. And some of these need to be taken care of now. It's like, oh my goodness.
Well, and then there's other places where people live, and transportation, public transportation is what they do. It doesn't matter whether you're walking or you're getting Ubers and
The bus. taking the
buses
bus.
and whatever it is, or even if you're riding your bike. I mean, there's still going to be some costs involved
Mhm.
in your general maintenance and everything else. And so, yeah, you want to make sure that that happens. Okay, so when we talk about the goal of having a budget, I mean, what is a budget for? I mean, how do we, why is it even important to us other than, yeah, we've got all of these expenses and it'd be nice to know where they're going, but really, how does a budget benefit me?
Well, first of all, it gives you peace.
Okay.
Second of all, it gives you a reality like what goals do you have? And it gives you an amazing amount of freedom. Like, okay, if you are debt free,
Mhm.
which is my goal for you guys for trying to be there. And I tend to remind, well, I don't tend, but there's a number of people in debt. They don't want to be there, but this is their world. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to take you where you're at, to be your coach, to be your cheerleader, and remind you, okay, that light at the end of the tunnel is not another train coming at you. Because you get caught up in that world that it's like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And there are, we're not talking there's shoes on sale and I need and I was listening to a speaker the other day. She was depressed. In her depression, she went out and she maxed out all her credit cards on shoes and clothes and whatnot. But there are people out there with very real expenses like, okay, I have to take the child to the ER.
Or the cat.
Or
Got
the
one of
cat.
those calls this morning from a client.
Okay. Or in my world, my husband entered the cat's world.
Yeah.
Okay. He was there for 4 years until he moved to heaven. Okay. That's unbelievable expenses. And thank God we had insurance. And again, God provided totally for us because he never worked after being diagnosed.
Yeah, your husband didn't.
No.
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
you have things in place for that, those emergency funds, those whatever, okay, I'm getting confused. That's okay. I can't do that.
Emergency funds are important because it helps us when we have those emergencies. Budgeting, budgeting helps us to get where we want to go.
Mhm.
Now, you were bringing up a point earlier that I thought was really great, because one of the things about budgeting is that we have a sense of peace when we know that we've planned for the money to be spent.
Mhm.
So some of us are wired to be a little bit more, how should I say, impulsive in our thoughts
Oh, yeah.
and shopping and our the way that we do things like that. Some of us are very intentional about our shopping habits. I know that in my household, I have a lot more impulsiveness than Brian does. And Brian's very much the planner. And I learned a long time ago that it was better for me to let Brian do that planning. Not that I can't do the budget and keep the budget because I still keep the household budget. But the point being, yeah, we do things a lot differently. And Brian's a lot more comfortable when I say, you know what, I'd really like A. And he's a lot more comfortable when he can say, yeah, that's in the budget. Go ahead.
Well, and you pointed out something there that when you're dealing with a husband and wife or, two people, you have to have that communication going.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Because if you're not on the same page, it's just interesting because you could have one that, is impulsive, one that's not. And that's where communication comes in
Mhm.
very, very importantly, because as you pointed out in just story on, the podcast, this is one of the things couples, fight about.
Yeah, finances is one of the top 3.
So, communication, which should be in everything, but especially in budgets, so that you can be on the same page. And, like Brian says, okay, Chris, we've got the money, let's do it.
Mhm.
Or he probably says, okay, let's start saving for that.
Okay. I'm going to jump into something that, because it made me think about this for those impulsive buyers and the debt. You gave me a statistic the other day about the average amount of national debt per person, or
Well,
in the nation, debt per person. I said that wrong.
no, you're totally fine. I was reading the World Magazine, and okay, first of all, 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 14.9 trillion, and I'm talking with a T, our outstanding consumer debt in 2020, according to Experian. And Experian is one of the people that keeps track of all your debt and all your spending and whatnot. 10.3 trillion, again with a T, is outstanding mortgage debt. $92,000 is the total average consumer debt of everyone.
That was the one that was rolling through my head. I am amazed at that. That's just a lot of debt.
Well, and 3.9 trillion of that is credit card debt in 2020. And it's like, so you've got the credit card, okay, and it's easier. And I do understand, okay, this is, if it's a need, I understand.
Sure.
Even if it's not a need, it's like, okay, those shoes are on sale. Oh, and they're lovely. And they're like 30% off. I got to get them. Okay, so that's where having a budget, you can take a moment and think, okay, for instance, one of my daughters is very good with Dave Ramsey's envelope system. So if the cash is gone from that envelope, those shoes are not getting bought.
But that takes a lot of self-discipline.
She is
It's
very
hard.
She is very, very good at that.
That's
And,
good.
you know, she's good at it. And then I've got other children that are not. So, you know, having a budget kind of gives you that framework.
Mhm.
So it's like, and I'm not saying that we're just black and white around this, because there are those times when, you know, okay, we get off track a little, but the budget helps pull you back in
Right.
so that you get back on that track and keep going.
Okay, so there are some reasons that you have for budgeting. Those reasons are,
First of all, for me, it's peace. Second of all, it's your roadmap.
okay,
It's, you know, keep it simple. Again, the four walls, you know, you're working on, for most of us, and I would say probably all of us, we need that food. But here's the deal. I was with a child last night. She ordered some stuff, and granted, she was very, very generous, and I got a sundae out of this, but it was 17 bucks by
yeah,
the time she was done. And it's like, that was for one person, and granted, we're not counting the sundae, we probably should. But okay, so how much money of that $17 had we gone to the grocery store? How many meals would that have bought?
sure. But on the flip side of that, if you prefer to eat out and you don't cook,
Mhm.
planning appropriately, knowing that you're going to eat out more often, that's also part of budgeting, right?
Right, right.
Okay, so tell me the best piece of advice that you got about beginning that budgeting process.
First of all, how much income do you have? Are you like the child that has multiple streams of income, or do you have just, you know, you're going to that 9 to 5 job, you have a paycheck? What's that month entail? Expenses, you know, start keeping track. And it's hard. It's kind of like dieting. It's hard to write down, okay, I had an apple. Okay, I just had that sundae last night. Actually, I only had half of it. The other half's for tonight. Split these calories in half. Find out where it's going. And okay, the goal is to have more coming in than going out.
Okay,
So when you've got that in place, so you're eating out. Well, if you're eating out every day, and I have a neighbor that I think they have delivery every day,
mhm,
cut it down to maybe once or twice a week. Okay, if you're saving, well, like $17 last night, take that times 5. How much did you just save in that week?
mhm.
And I'm not saying cut out your luxuries, because, and look at what Chris gave me. I mean, she gave me this lovely, yeah, okay,
Mhm.
and it's true.
Little iced
Okay.
coffee.
Iced coffee. But here's the thing. So cold brew, you can make it at home really, really inexpensively.
Mhm,
If you go out to buy it, it's like what, $4 a pop?
mhm. So, okay, let me go backwards though.
Go for it.
What if we're at the very beginning of this, because it's budgeting 101,
Yeah.
and we just want to figure out where our money is going? And is that a good enough reason to start budgeting and not worrying about how we're gonna cut it? Just figure out why we're spending the money we are, or where we're spending the money we are?
That's part of the beginning, because you have to find out where is it going. And, you know, for some of us, we use paper and pen, or get a little journal. Or for those of you, those techie people, you know, put it down in your phone where you're going. But just, you know, get a simple piece of
Mhm.
paper and just start going, you know, what are your categories? Food, rent, this, and write down. And I know it's going to be a pain in the patootie. Okay. My grandson loves that word, patootie. So write down expenses for the month. Okay, I spent, gosh, the other day I spent $5 on I don't even remember what drink. Okay, write that down. The utilities, if you're like me, you've got them for the year and it's an average. Sorry.
Go ahead, take a drink. And I know too, I mean, you go back to your checking account, everything's gonna be there. And a lot of times credit cards
Or should
categorize-
be.
Or should be, yeah, it should be there. But credit cards will categorize too.
Mhm.
And so you can actually begin to develop a plan because you can download all of that information from online or go back and look at those receipts. I know that we were Leadership Harbor, I mean, as a business, we do a budget and I was just updating our budget to make sure that we were where we need to be because we've taken on some new coaches and that's great, but I want to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing. And I went back past the last 6 months because I wanted to make sure I was picking up, the odds and ends that might happen. So we just go back and we just kind of figure out where we are. And if you don't want to download it, I know there's apps too that you can download things and it'll categorize things automatically for you. But can you help people figure out how to do that downloading? Can you help them categorize things and do all of that? I mean, is that part of what you can do for people?
I can.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So, whoa, wait, okay. But, and there are some, Dave Ramsey's had a wonderful system called everydollar.com. It's free. But I know that, there's a lot of people that they don't like things like that. They want the more personal interaction. So yeah, helping you start a budget. Yeah. I would need, okay, what's your income? And I will need, so you will have to do, what are my expenses?
But they could literally bring things to you and you could help figure it out with them side by side.
Yeah.
And is there like maybe a specific event coming up that maybe that would be like something you would be doing at that said event?
There is going to be a budgeting 101, and I knew I should have looked up the date before we left. Because it's like Chris has got, and it's like July, what is it? There will be details like the 14th. I don't remember. I don't have my calendar.
I can't remember either right now. That's pretty bad. But there is a
written
budget
down.
coming up. She actually here, I'm gonna do something kind of rude, but I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just gonna look
No.
it up.
I can get my calendar out too. So
And we're gonna look up the budgeting and budgeting 101. And this is coming up. Of course, it didn't, I must have named it something else.
well, and it will be a workshop that you can come in and we can just start at the very basics, because the thing is we often think thinking children don't know this and whatever. I know widows. In fact, I just got an email from a friend of mine the other day who was very interested in my new career. And he was relating the story of how his mother-in-law, she became a widow. She was clueless as to where things were going. She had no idea, what was being done, whatever. And it's like, it brings, here's a tissue, because of the fact that, okay, this woman is dealing with grief. She's also dealing with the financial stress because she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know where she's at. She doesn't know, do I have enough to, and I don't know how old she was at the time. Am I going to have to go work?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, lots and lots of questions. So July 13th from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. is the budgeting workshop. And if you bring in all of your detail work, Jody's literally going to sit down with you and help you kind of figure out where things go, the best way to categorize. As I recall, there's a couple of people that have already signed up for it, and two of them are teenagers. I mean, the one whole family has wanting to participate because they want to make sure that they're teaching their teenagers how to budget better, but they know that they can improve on their budgeting skills as well. So that's going to be just the way that that's going to work. You're going to have some worksheets that they can use to help them develop that, and you're going to send out information ahead of time so that they can come prepared to really get that budget kind of nailed into place, correct?
See, now she says, I'm going to do it, but we all know she's going to.
Well, I'm going to help you. I'll send
She's
it
like,
out.
you send it to me, I'll take care
Yeah,
of it.
we'll get it
The
sent
tech site. Okay,
We'll get it sent out. But so being purposeful and mindful about budgeting, it is scary, but it's so doable. So we will be setting aside very specific times for you to begin your budgeting process. And if you know someone who is struggling, like the four young people, I mean, they were, adult young people, young adults. I don't know how to say
Anyone
this.
younger than us?
They were younger. They were more like my kids' age and younger. So yes, they're younger than us. But if you know someone who's not budgeting well and they're really struggling with that, I think this is going to be a great opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it, Jody. I'm looking forward to the things that you're bringing into Leadership Harbor with this knowledge. And yeah, this is great. Thank you for the information. All right. Anybody have any questions?
I can't read that.
It's budgeting 101 workshop. Chris put it in so that we would be able
Thank you,
to
Chris.
send that on. But unmute if you've got questions, or stump Jody. That'd be okay. You can
Oh.
stump Jody.
That's probably not gonna be on.
Mhm.
One thing I wanted to add though, is that when you find your, get your budget down and whatever, and if you find that you cannot really cut any expenses, you might have to consider a side gig. And there's numerous things out here, but there are legitimate expenses like medical or whatever, or, and oh, wait, I've been told I'm never to use that word again.
What?
So, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. Mhm. No, whatever.
So, but again, okay, there's the credit card debt, which is legitimate, but we want to try and get rid of that.
But you can help people figure that snowball method, right?
Yes,
So that, I mean, everything is doable.
I can advise them, but again, you will have to take the responsibility because it's like, okay, I can suggest things to do, but you have to follow through. I can't do it for you. I'm just your guide and your coach. I'm not the person that, you are responsible for this.
You're not going to take their credit cards away from them?
Oh, no. Oh, wait, we have questions.
Oh, good.
I
Good,
can't
good,
read
good.
them, but
Okay, it says, questions to stump Jody. How do you decide how much emergency money is enough?
oh, that's very good. Is that David? I can't read.
Yeah, David.
Okay. And that's really good. And I've got a great example for that because again, the child that does the envelope system, we were talking the other day and she had finally gotten her 6 months. Okay, 6 months is basically 6 months of expenses. She's got it put away. And I suggested, now that you've got the 6 months, let's try working on the 12 months. Once you get the 12 months, the ideal for me is 18 months because when you have a year like last year, if you've got that 18 months and okay, you're not working because your company shut down, you've got this, you're able to ride that storm out a little more.
Mhm.
But basically starting with 6 months because you're going to have an emergency
Of expenses, not
of
income.
expenses.
Some people have said 3 to 6 months of income, but really it's your expenses that are the key here.
Well, yes.
Good. That's really, I mean, I think that's a key answer. So hopefully, David, hopefully that gave you kind of an insight into how that goes. Now, if actual expenses so that you can continue the living, that's going to be your food, your utilities, your mortgage, rent kind of thing, maintenance on your car, because you still got to put fuel in it. You're still going to have to put tires on it and fix the brakes and do those kinds of things. Clothing to a point, because most of us have a closet full of clothes that we could probably get by wearing for the year.
Unless you're in like one of my daughters, okay, she has a uniform. And she is responsible for purchasing that uniform. So she has to have, and she does, she's got a clothing budget, but for the most part, you're right. We have all those clothes. It's
Mhm.
amazing how many clothes I just found.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
So, I mean, there's things that you can kind of tweak, but thinking through those, what are my absolutes? And I would almost even say, consider the TV and where that sits in that. And I'm not saying that that's not an important aspect, because a lot of people, I mean, it's their company and I'm all right with that. Like, again, it's back to what's the most important things to you? Where are your priorities, right?
Well, and that's a little more complicated for the fact that I was just talking to, I think it was my kids Sunday night. And they were talking about like one of the particular, you can buy the service is like $15 a month. Okay, we haven't had cable in years and I've saved a ton of money because of the fact, okay, you've got, I know people that have $200 internet bill
Oh, yeah,
every
easily.
month.
Oh, easily.
And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, but you know, here's the thing, if they can afford it,
That's great.
fine and dandy. But if you can't, it's one reason for maybe checking into, you know, there's a lot of free over the air stuff. There's a lot of, you know, like, I can't remember which one, since I don't have it, that you can get this free, oh, like, I think it's Voodoo. You can get free stuff
Yeah,
there.
there's a lot of free movie channels. There's a lot of like, as long as you've got internet, that's
Yeah,
gonna be kind
yeah.
of one of those no does in this kind of world. Because you're gonna need that in order to be able to access the stuff.
Well, and internet
But-
is almost a prereq, or it's almost, in my world, in your world, in Chris's world, it's a need.
It's
because
like electricity.
we can't do our business
Yeah.
without having the internet. And that's probably for every one of you on here, that internet is a requirement, but is that other stuff added to it, like the TV or the whatever.
Or at what level?
Yeah,
Is that necessary? So, okay, good. Any more questions out there? I don't see anybody popping up, but I don't want to cut anybody off either.
It's like-
So,
Yeah, let's not do that one anymore. Okay.
so
This
we'll
is
just
me.
reiterate one more
I
time.
can't
Yep.
read.
There, it's our chat. We got our chat box a little too small, but
No, it's.
Chris is
totally
shaking his head that it's no. So the budgeting workshop from 6:30 to 7:30 on July the 13th. And oh, this is something that we probably should mention as well. It's $49 a person for that hour that you're gonna spend with them, helping them develop their budget. However, if they're bringing more people, it's a BOGO half off.
Yeah.
So that
So you're bringing your child, bringing your husband.
your wife,
Yeah.
and yeah, absolutely. So there are family discounts, and then Jody is always also available for discovery sessions. Discovery sessions are actual complimentary sessions where she can help you to identify some goals, and whether or not having her to yourself or coming in to help your family on a more individualized basis would be a good thing for you if it's what you would want. And also helps you to figure out how you can afford that if she were to come in on a one-to-one basis. But the workshop is going to be, I think that's an awesome value right there. And you're going to walk away with the budget that night. It's going to be perfect. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, she's it's.
No, I'm going to be there because I'm going to use the worksheet too. I want to make sure that I'm really budgeting the way that I should be. So I think that's an awesome thing. So thanks, Jody.
Well, and that's a good point, that, you know, no matter where you're at in this financial journey, you know, like, okay, you're talking to CPAs.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not talking, again, you know, what we would think as teenagers or younger. And, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day that, well, okay, two of my grandchildren, they get money for doing chores around the house. They can save up and they can go to Target and purchase what they want, but it's not coming from mom and dad. They have got to have saved that money. So they're learning then at their age, okay, if I want this, I have to do this to
Right.
be able to get it. And it's like, it's giving them responsibility,
Mhm.
it's teaching them responsibility.
Mhm.
And so you've got any age in that group, but it's kind of like your speakers club yesterday, which is I'm in because why I need to be more comfortable at this. We had people of all levels because you could always learn something new.
Always improve.
And there's always, then, you know, again, the budget is pretty much 101, income versus expenses. And this is simple for the most part. This is more complicated, but we can always learn something new.
Yeah. New applications, new
Definitely.
thoughts, new ways to do things. So, all right. Well, Jody, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've done a great job answering all my questions. And for those of you that are there, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited about the journey of budgeting with Jody and all of the financial wisdom she's going to be able to bring to people. So yeah, give us a shout out. Let us know if there's anything that Jody can do for you, and we'll get back to you soon.
Well, let's see, any of you can unmute if you want and ask a question. You don't have to go through the chat, because I know there are some people that, what is a chat? You know, some of us that, you know, those that have not been doing this for a while.
Sure.
So Does anyone want to unmute and ask a question? Okay.
Silence. All right. Yeah, Tanya's at work, so hers would all come through the chat too, so.